Okay, you're on. Yeah.
So hi everyone, I'm Ashish Bose. I'm a data scientist at System Technology. In this talk, I will be talking about my experiences with my initial project, which I had in System, and also some of my personal projects. So the let's start with the first of my the project. So suppose you are you work in a home loan company and you are the home loan advisor, and you come to the office and see that these are your customers, which you have to call and see if they get convert. Uh, so, and you know the fact that that more time you take to call someone, the lesser their chances of getting converted. So, you have to prioritize which of them to call first, and who which of the customers will have higher chances of getting converted. So, after analyzing, you find out that the customers who are in city A, B, C are having more chances than city C, D, E, and another uh, and another criteria is their age. So, and you figured out that first you have you see which city they are from has higher priority than what age groups. So the prioritization has levels. First you first you sort them via their city and then via their age, something like that. So well, this is just an example. Then so how do you as a uh, how do you use this and create a system which which prioritize uh, on the which prioritize the customers you have to call first. So so there are multiple ways. First one I came out with was you first matlab, if city has a higher chance, city prioritization of city is first level and then age is second. So first you sort age wise and then you sort city wise. Okay, so that it will be a like a grouping. First you take all those customers who are in city A, then under those, you sort them via their age, and then another city and their age. That this is what multi-level prioritization I'm saying. So that is one way. You sort them by age first. You go from bottom to up. Another way is what you can do is you can get each of the rows and put a priority key. Give them a key of some kind. If you sort with that key, you will also get the same result that you did by sorting, first by age and first by city, then by city. So what you do is you provide some character lengths of those keys to level 1 and then level 2. So this will be like a dictionary sort kind of thing. Uh, so okay, so you write some function of creating that key. So you uh, the cities which have higher priority, you give them higher number, but you have to keep the number of characters length same for that particular level. So So you gave those characters of that level to city, and then the next some part of that character length to age, and then again if they have some another number, you give third part to that, and likewise you can map each of the data set and map to the priority. Just sort them out, and you can you have your prioritization, and you can you call them likewise. So after I built this whole system, uh, there was some issues which came. I remember. So it was too slow. So what what the problem was? Actually this is not how the tables were stored in a server. You get addresses from different. You get address from some other server on some other table. You get city from somewhere else. So what you do is you take all those things and you make a table, and then you apply the prioritization. And so this process was taking long. So I remember that it's just for the 500 customers, it took more than 10 seconds. That too in my local system. So I figured out that for each of those customers, I was getting the details from some other servers, and for each detail, I was making an API call, which per API call, I calculated that it took like 100 milliseconds for each API call, and for 500 customers, I have 1,000 API calls. So that make it that. So, so what was the problem? Uh, the problem was n plus one query problem. Anyone heard of this? So what happens is you have users, and for each user, you are making an API call to get city. So you have thousands of users, and you are making those API calls, and each API call is 100 milliseconds. So this will add up. So how I solved this problem? Basically, what I did was uh, rather than using 1,000 API calls, I reduced it to just two. What I did was I just pull all the users first into an array, and then all the cities whose array with array key as user ID, I pulled those from a single API call, and I merged them. So what I did was I called all the users, and I put array key as their key, so that I can map those in just the number of users I had. So I use, I generally don't like much to write for loops. So I use the array functions which PHP already provides. And this was one of the function, array merge recursive. So what it does is, uh, suppose you have an array with a user ID as a key, and you have another array with user ID as key, and you like to merge them. So you just write this array merge recursive, and you will get those two merge in O and time. Another function I used was for prioritization key. I just used array map. So I figured out that still array map is slower than the for loop. You use it in, but it makes the code cleaner. So yeah, this is how
the guy in the back can see.
Yeah.
Yes, there could have been more solutions. Could have written something that plus functions or something, a function with a callback kind of thing. So you give one call to a query, you proceed ahead till the data comes back with a callback function, another function, again with the query. And both of them once they're ready, then you try and move forward. Because the server on the other side can manage multiple calls, not just one call. So this was a common problem even I had in some other project where I had to send something like around 1 lakh minutes in my track, like in 15 minutes. So I had to come up with a solution. So one of the solution, the problem that we were having was exactly the same problem. So the way we found out was doing asynchronous functions rather than having.
And in PHP.
Yeah, yeah. No, okay.
Thanks, I'll look into it.
There's one more. Maybe as a data scientist, maybe it might help you.
Yeah.
For asynchronous.
Yeah, I also thought about that, but I couldn't find asynchronous in PHP. Yeah.
Tell me the there are ways you like to do it.
So the problem I told you about in the previous uh, of my project, that in that project I had to get the all the data in real time. So if you, but there are some other systems like you create reports and you send it on a daily basis or on a monthly basis. So what you can do is you can create ETL system. So what is ETL? ETL is a way of getting the type of data you want. You make your tables like that only, the way you want your data. Uh, ETL has three. Uh, ETL means extract, transfer, and load. What you do is, like I said, I have to get data from multiple databases and servers. So what you can do is you can run something like daily basis and create another table which will have the exact kind of data you want directly. Like you can process, you can extract those data from all the other tables and you can process and you can feed them into the table you want. And you can later you can uh, later you can just run a simple query on that table and you get the data you want. Uh, so
You're saying like when you get the copy of the data and you store it somewhere, right?
Yeah.
That's what your ETL system.
Yeah.
As of I know, like ETL basically does for the data management. Then when your data doesn't change for longer periods of time. If I do it for my daily system, what if like in between the user comes, edit his profile. I have the data for the day, like the user is, say, it depends on how frequently you run the ETL system,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We just can't run the ETL system because it takes too much load.
Yeah.
So basically, in between some user changes or email ID. In case of your level, like only CITIC, that doesn't, that doesn't affect that much. But if it's a critical information, let's say it's an email ID, I have to trigger a mail. The user has in between changed. But how
Okay, that I manage with, in every table, you have, I used to have two extra columns, like when created it and updated it. So I have a table in which I store those data. So I know that when this state, from what until which point the
okay, so you have been calling it like from whenever you have been updating information, you have been sending some call to your like copy
yeah,
data. And you have been updating that.
yeah, and I'm not running it on the whole table. Just I know the last updated. When did I run that query, and I know that after that how much it changed with the updated at column, and I just extract those data and put. So, why do we need ETL that so how do we do it? What I did was I know what was the requirement for creating reports and creating all the and data for the analysis purpose. Which so I initially I used to directly query them and give it to the manager. Uh, I used to store that, and I know that which of the data points we need frequently or which are important. So basis on that, I created several ETL tables for in in my server, and yeah, after that, the reports I created were directly came from those tables. So now I don't have to do it on the live server. I just extract the report from that table and send it on a daily basis or on a weekly basis or however the requirement comes. Now, so analytics. As I said, I was creating the reports and sending it to the managers. Uh, using the ETL tables, the library I used for getting those reports into PHP was PHP spreadsheet, which is a very good library if you want to get your data and directly put into a spreadsheet and send it to the person who requires it. It has also very useful functions like creating charts and creating all those the things you want for a
Which one? PHP data science.
so yeah. Now I was doing the analytics things on mostly in Python, and this I think this is I in last 2 weeks I wanted to see if there were any PHP libraries I can use for analytics purpose. So there are two good libraries I found out: PHP ML and Fast Artificial Neural Network, which you can look into it.
How many of you guys are using PHP or data science?
Thing and these are the recent libraries. So this is all from my experiences, and thank you for listening to me. Data source is MySQL. In as I said, I used to use Python already before, and I have had to do my software development. I also used to create the system, which so that I didn't since the system is in PHP. I used to do it in PHP, and all the reportings I have to generate were all in PHP. So suppose I had to do a pivot table, like I had the raw data and I have to do pivot table. So what I have to do is I should have to extract the data, and then I am doing pivot and all those things in Excel or pandas library in Python. So that was the main manual task I had to do. So what I did was, in pandas you don't need to write any loop, and you have all those inbuilt function like pivot table and all. So I removed this manual task and created my own pivot table function in PHP, and from the table matlab, from the table I manipulate the data and directly put it into Excel sheet, so I don't have to do any of those in middle work.
That was that. How much data you are dealing with?
Okay, I'm not dealing with that much, less than million, that I can say.
Okay.
Okay.